the end grain from splitting. Here you see how the elmwood grain is typically crossed in multiple directions. This is the view from a glider plane flying over the Cotswolds and the Golden Valley, and you can see Wesley Farm and the trail that goes to our camp. It is spring at last, and the weather is warmer. It is much easier to work. Here I am sharpening our Danam chainsaw to go and cut a very special tree to make the cabin bows. We have been searching the forest below for some time to find a suitable tree. Firstly, it must be straight. The diameter of the tree is all important, as this determines how big each final split will be. This will be the tree for the cabin bows. The top of the tree I cut for firewood. One of the amazing things about ash wood is that you can burn it even when it is green. Every other wood I know of has to be left 6 months or so to dry. Aruna brings down our goats to eat the twigs and buds of the leaves. Nothing goes to waste. With a giant furrow, I start the split. The part of the split in the bark does not coincide with the split in the wood beneath, so I have to remove the bark first. By driving in wedges one behind the other, I begin to split the tree in half. When necessary, I can improvise a large wedge. Inside the tree there is often stringy wood that is holding the two parts together, which I chop away with my hand axe. Finally, I can prise the two halves of the tree apart. I split each half into quarters, using the same technique of starting the split in the dead center of the tree trunk. Aruna moves all the bark of the quadrant so that we can follow the path of the next split easily. It is much more difficult to split these quarters into eighths. When you split the wood into eighths, it's more likely that the split will run off center and will need correcting with an axe. When you split the tree of this side into eighths, you have reached a critical advantage. Each piece is light enough to be carried back to camp. Now we can continue the process in a much more controlled way by using the triangular frame in front of me, which is called a brake. By using a brake, I can control how the wood splits. First, I split off the center of the wood, which contains the wiggly growths of the seedling tree, which forms branches which are soon overshadowed and fall off, leaving knots. As the tree grows bigger, it grows straighter by compensating, growing faster on one side than the other. The outer section contains the best ash wood with the straightest grain. Using the regular furrow, I can split this into 16ths and even 32nds. I start as always by driving the furrow centrally and radially into the end of the streak. Then I have to watch very carefully to see if the split continues running centrally or tends to deviate upwards or downwards. At the first inclination of the split to deviate, I place the wood in the break with the thicker side down, and carefully bear down on the wood as I continue to split. By bearing down with just the right pressure, I bring the split back to center. With this careful vigilance and manipulation, I can keep the split running down the center of even a very long piece of wood. Now I repeat the same process, splitting into 16ths. Of course, being thinner, the streaks are more delicate and I have to watch the split more carefully. The thinner the wood, the more difficult it is. Here you see the split running beautifully along the center of the wood. And finally, it runs off at the end. Finally, when I've split all the wood we need for the cabin bows, then Aruna takes over by marking the wood. She marks one side straight and then marks the other with a parallel line to show the width of the streak that we need. Then it's my turn to cut the wood she has marked down to size. Now the width of the piece is correct, but is slightly triangular from being split, so she jams the wood in the break again, and with a draw knife she smooths down the best side to be as flat as possible. Having got the best side flat, she marks out the thickness with a marking gauge. And she passes it back to me. Now I can cut it down so that eventually we will have all the wood cut to the same size. The next and final move is to cut a tenon at each end of the strakes, which will fit into the mortises that we will carve in the gunnels. By measurement, I can cut this roughly to size with a draw knife. But to get it exactly, I use this tool that I welded up to drive over the end of the tenon to get consistently exactly the right thickness. It just needs a final trimming and we have all the strakes prepared. They may seem a little wiggly, but really that doesn't matter because we will steam bend them into the correct shape anyway. This is the steamer. It's made from 6 50-gallon drums. The center one has its ends cut so that it will hold water in the bottom but be open at the top. There is a second outer layer of drums to give insulation. That is all important, and the detail is to get the hot steam equally distributed along the whole length of the steamer. The wood fits on a rack inside. These wagon wheels that we were able to find have the same curvature as the bows. Meanwhile, I am finishing cutting the mortises and the gunnels of Taulua. As we draw the wood from the steamer, we throw a hop sack over the strake to keep it hot. We start to bend the wood around the wheel. We have to be very fast because the wood cools off very quickly. It is already a bit stiffer, but we can keep going and it works out well. Once the wood is curved, we put it to one side to cool off. Meanwhile, we continue bending the next strake. By this time the first bow has cooled and we're tied so the ends will not spring open. Here's the first bow. So it fits into the mortises over the cabin, and yes, it's the right size. I can fit inside perfectly. This is the best way that we found to make tree nails. We cut ash wood into short blocks and put an elastic band around them. Our runner splits the log into 3/4-inch thick slices. And having done that in one direction, she turns the log 90 degrees and does the same thing all over again. Finally, she takes off the elastic band and the log falls into little square pegs. After discarding a few duds, the pegs in the basket are placed high up over the fireplace to dry out. I bring out the anvil and a special punch I've made. Arduna makes herself comfortable and drives the square pegs through the round holes. The first tree nail is stuck inside until she knocks in the second one. Finally, she has a basket full of tree nails. Now the ash ribs and the pine stringers of the cabin are taking shape. The wiggly ash wood has conformed to the shape that we want. Arduna is applying the urea formaldehyde glue into the bored-out holes. The pegs are dipped into the liquid formaldehyde and driven into the hole. This is the glue that was used to build the mosquito bombers of the last war. It is completely waterproof and stronger than the wood itself. Finally, I plane down the bows with a compass plane. This is the kind of plane that you can adjust to suit whatever curvature you want. I was lucky enough to find it in an antique shop in London. This is the wood treat that we got from Stanhope Chemicals. They were very generous in donating all we would need to preserve Taulua, and because of this material we were able to